Coming up next on the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast.
I always think of I do this scenario in my head where I'm like, imagine you had 5 people going to your website, you had a system and a process, they could do that while you sleep.
Yep.
Imagine if 50 people came to your website and did that.
From your first dollar to your first million, welcome to the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast, presented by ZenMaid. Join your host, Stephanie Pipkin, founder of Serene Clean, as she shares proven tips, tricks, and hard-earned lessons. Whether you're just starting out or ready to scale, get ready to discover how to build your own cleaning empire. Let's roll up our sleeves and dive in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Filthy Rich Cleaners podcast. I am your host, Stephanie from Serene Clean, and in today's episode, we are shooting straight from Barcelona with my friend Ryan, the head of marketing at ZenMaid. Welcome, Ryan. Thank you for the guest that you're doing right now.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is very meta right now, being on a podcast that, we just started recording, and it's hot in Spain.
It is hot in Spain.
Insanely hot. Mm-hmm. I didn't think it would be this hot in Europe, but it's a lot.
Yeah, it's been, I had no idea that it'd be just as bad here as Savannah when it comes to the humidity, but it's been really lovely to just, take a dip in the pool whenever we want to cool down. Yeah, it's been nice. I've been enjoying it.
I don't know how you're wearing jeans right now.
Yeah.
I packed only shorts, and it feels like Arkansas too. It feels like home.
Honestly, I was feeling un-American, and yesterday was the 4th of July, so this is our last day here, and I was like, let me throw on some jeans and bring me back to my roots, I was wearing too many dresses. I was like, nope.
Toby Keith would be proud.
Toby Keith would be proud, so put some blue jeans on.
Yep.
But anyway, I thought it would be really fun to do a little bit of Would You Rather marketing related content and questions, and just kind of go through some funny situations that ChatGPT was able to create for me. So, all of that being said, would you rather accidentally send a 20% off email to your entire client list twice in one day, or go viral for a typo that says, "We'll clean your crack"?
This is an easy one for me. I would rather go viral for sending an email that says, "We'll clean your crack."
Why?
Just like PR, any PR is good PR, even if it's bad. And I feel like Amar would be proud.
Yeah, I think Amar would approve for sure. And honestly, I don't know if you've had any where you've done an oopsie on that. I've seen many marketing.
Not to that scale.
Not to that scale. Yeah, a couple months ago, we were doing our cleaning giveaway for our 6-year anniversary. And I sent out the email newsletter, explaining the rules and the deadline for them to enter for the cleaning giveaway. And it was supposed to be till the end of April, but I had March 30th on it because I had created the email and scheduled out in March. Anyway, so we're getting emails back saying, "Oh, did I already miss the deadline to enter?" And so I was like, oh my gosh, I need to send out another email correcting myself. And I sent it out, and I still kept the wrong date on it. So I sent it twice with the wrong date on it. I was so embarrassed, and I wanted to throw myself off a cliff. So
the funny thing is it's always a marketing opportunity. The fact that you sent it again. I think people probably remembered that, and it makes you more human, and I think that's totally fine. But I've never done something to that degree. But I did have a colleague at one company that just think about paid media ads. They overspent the budget by $30,000. So if I were to send out an email that says, "We'll clean your crack," that's nothing compared to
Do you have any email marketing tips? Because I feel like for me, that has been something I've done since the beginning. I've used MailChimp, like I've said. I signed up because it was free. It integrates nicely with Zapier and all of that stuff. But honestly, I feel like my email marketing is so basic. We do a newsletter every month, and I just don't even know necessarily where to go with it. And I'm 6 years in, so for somebody starting out, what do you have suggestions on?
Yeah, first off, I think people underestimate email, and I think just starting sooner rather than later. People try to build an email list when it's too late. People also try to buy their way into an email list, which is just the wrong...
What do you mean by that?
Buying lists, or, trying to penetrate a cold audience. That's just not the way to do it. And also, people are always afraid to just send too many emails. I think if it's valuable, if it's meaningful, if it's intentional, you could email me 3 times, and if it's valuable content, I'm not going to care about it. So I think it's don't overthink it. Email's still a very relevant channel. I think from a cold email perspective, it's kind of saturated. But if you have a good list, if you add your customers, it's just, it builds and compounds over time. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's something we haven't even gotten into text marketing very much, and that I feel like is the next thing to tackle, and especially we just switched over to Open Phone, and I know that there's a bunch of softwares that you can use for text marketing. Like, do you feel one is better than the other, considering most of our clients are, you know, middle-aged or older potentially? That's at least how I see it.
I see a lot of people using Open Phone. Here, it's a great software. I think it's the same. Like, SMS and text messaging is just as saturated. Like, there's so much spam. I know all the carriers are sort of working on like fighting that. And so I think both channels are saturated. I think we kind of like over-index on one or the other. But I think I email more than I text. I'm obviously like, you know, maybe the ICP of someone in the cleaning industry because like, you know, we're busy.
Kids,
we have
married,
3 kids, married, busy. And so I would say like email for me is probably better. Like I'm if an email comes through and it's from somebody that I know, I'm more likely to respond. And then just like all of us, we're always on our phones and things get busy. Sometimes I just forget to respond, or I just like, especially like in my role, I'm always on my phone because like that's how I work. We have Slack, we have email, we have social media channels, we have YouTube, we have the podcast. So I just get burnt out with my phone. And so if somebody emails me, I'm more likely to respond.
And honestly, I think that's where it is of like overthinking it, because honestly, it's time or place. If it's going to be an email that I respond to versus a marketing text that I respond to, it just depends when it comes in, and that's totally random. Like, because for me, if you text me an offer, like meaning like, oh, get 10% off, like I am very likely to like click on it and look at the link or whatever. Whereas email marketing, if it's more informational or educational or like more longer form, I am going to potentially read that on my computer and things like that. So it really just depends. And I think it's more like try out a bunch of stuff and experiment. And
I think that's true. Also, people underestimate offers. Like people love a discount. People love to get a deal.
So what do you, that's a really good segue, because I have been pretty adamant about like, I don't do discounts and things because I didn't want to cheapen my brand. And now we have started experimenting with doing that. And what would you say to me as somebody who's really concerned about cheapening my brand?
I would say reframe the way that you think about it. Instead of cheapening your brand, think about it in terms of like rewarding your customers with something that will save them some money. And also, I think if you have a healthy business and, you know, maybe you're in a position where you've grown like a really good business, it's not a bad thing to attract new customers and just kind of try different things. So I think in terms of like really all of marketing is the way that you go about it. Just like what we're talking about with email, SMS, offers. If you're being really intentional with it, doing it tastefully and not just spamming people with, you know, this is our Memorial Day savings, this is our 4th of July savings. Like those can kind of get saturated. But if you're just like, hey, Stephanie from Serene Clean here, thank you guys so much for being customers. Or if you haven't been a customer yet, we'd love to reward you with 20% off. Like imagine that type of message rather than like, you know, the 4th of July extravaganza. Like everybody tunes those out. So I think it's all about intentionality.
Okay. So you think just being more authentic to a personality and the branding of it all.
Yeah. And if it doesn't work, don't do it again, you know? But it doesn't hurt to test and iterate. So yeah, that's my take.
How much do you, like in your role, like work on things that you know works versus experimenting with new things? Obviously this podcast is all new, but now it's not, you know what I mean? We're 6 months in, but it's still fairly new. So like when you're thinking like, say like 100% of your marketing efforts can be used, how much of that is experimenting with new things, or is it not a brand new thing, but tweaking and trying something new in something that you're already doing, like email marketing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think somebody shared this framework. I think it was on LinkedIn. I'm a big LinkedIn guy. And
yeah, you nerd.
I'm trying to get Stephanie on LinkedIn.
I know. It's been like 3 days of people convincing me to get on LinkedIn. I'm like, not another social media.
And I had the idea. I was like, just go look at my LinkedIn. Go look at the stuff that I post. And it didn't work.
No, like it's still giving me I don't know why I don't like LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly. But there's this guy named Chris Walker. I don't know if he's the one that coined this like concept, but it was like, keep 70% of the things like of your budget towards the things that work. And then that 30% is just enough where you can kind of get some good results with testing, but you're not like completely botching all the other things that you're doing. So I often think of the 70-30.
Okay.
You could even think of like the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. I think that's another one. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, Pareto principle.
We'll just call it the 80-20.
Yeah, 80-20, yep.
And you know, if you just take 20% of your budget or 20% of your time or whatever it is, have your team focus on 20% of something that's new, it's not that big of a swing where it's taking away like 50% of their time or budget or whatever, or resources. So 80-20, 70-30, I think I kind of over-index on the testing part of it. This podcast is a great example that we didn't I didn't approach them and was like, hey, Amar, I need more budget. I worked with the budget that we had for this podcast. Obviously, we have good props and a good setup. I didn't need more budget to get full floaties. But anyway, like this is just a part of the testing. So we didn't really ask for more budget. And now we're 50, 60. At the time that we're recording this, I think we've published like 52.
Yeah.
And really, it's just been testing and iterating on what's already.
And I think just like being open-minded to like knowing that the first iteration of anything is not going to be the best, like, and not having this perfection mindset. I think I know for me, like that's happened before. I feel like I'm definitely more on like the action, like try and adjust. But I know a lot of our listeners, just from talking to them, they don't want to mess up and they don't want to look stupid. They don't want to be embarrassed because a lot of them are newer owners and they already have this kind of imposter syndrome of like, I'm not anything, and I'm trying to appear in a way.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like marketing related things or branding, etc., what would you say to somebody who is getting a little paralyzed and not acting on anything?
Yeah, I want to circle back to what you just said, because you said that some people are afraid of messing up.
Yep.
I think the only way that you can mess up with like testing and experimenting is by trying new things whenever there's so much deeper you can go with the things that are working. So like, imagine there's something that you did to get to the way that you are. Maybe there's something that you did to get your first like 10 customers.
Quick break. If you run a cleaning business, this is for you. The Maid Summit 2025 is the go-to virtual event to elevate your systems, grow your team, and finally get out of the day-to-day. 20 plus speakers, real results, and absolutely zero cost to you. Register today at maidsummit.com. Remember, it's free. Okay, now back to the video.
Imagine that you just take half of that timer and then you start testing. Like you already know what's working. And so too many people, especially with marketing, it's like shiny object syndrome. They see somebody like
I reference this all the time on the podcast because I have it.
I see it all the time. And it's like people think that they need to be doing newspaper ads and like press releases and like billboards
and like they're throwing every noodle at the wall.
Yeah.
And it's not even seeing what sticks. It's like I think jumping from thing to thing because I honestly think it has a lot to do with anxiety. Like if I don't try new methods of marketing, everything's gonna die. Where what you just referenced is like, how did you get your first 10 clients? We were talking about that earlier. Well, do that more.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Like you already know what's working and just try to stay focused on that. And then whenever you've dug that well as deep as you possibly can, then test new things. I think that's the hardest thing to do in marketing because it's very visual, it's very creative, it's fun, honestly, and so it's easy to just want to do new things whenever there's more room to dig in the other wells.
And obviously, we're trying to, like, oftentimes as small business owners, we are being sold to so much, especially just from like our searching online and things. We're getting targeted by all of these different types of marketing or forms of marketing. And it's hard, like, that shiny object syndrome is real because one, they are marketing to us. And so it's very difficult to resist or know what's like of good value. And obviously I'm not doing any would you rathers because now we're just like having a regular podcast, but this is good. So I'm going to keep talking. And that's something that I would love to hear like your thoughts on when it comes to how do we as inexperienced business owners know whether something is a good idea to invest in? Specifically, like potentially, we could take this a couple different ways, but I know a lot of folks have asked me about marketing agencies or individuals to use for marketing purposes. Yeah. And honestly, I don't know how to tell them if it's good or not because I don't have that eye and I don't use those things.
Right.
What kind of red flags or things that we should be looking for? Green flags. What are red flags and green flags from hiring a marketing agency if we want to outsource this?
This is a very loaded topic because for those of you that don't know, before I got here at ZenMaid and before I got into software marketing, I had worked at like 3 different marketing agencies. I started my career right out of college doing sales for a marketing agency, selling websites and paid media packages and search engine optimization, a bunch of other things. And then I did sales for like a year and then realized that I wanted to understand it more. And so I went into the back end fulfillment is what we would call it. Actually launching the campaigns, planning them on the Google Ads side. My first agency, I managed like 100 Google Ads accounts at once.
Whoa!
And then every
new just like sheer
volume, and that's a great way to learn. So anybody that's worked in an agency setting, or that's the good thing about agencies is they can handle volume and scale, but like the depth is sometimes what lacks. Because imagine it's kind of like you have 100 cleaning clients, you're obviously not going to go as deep on those as like 1 or 2.
Yes.
Like you're not going to spend as much time, and that's just the reality of it. I've also worked as a consultant. I've worked with consultants and freelancers, and like I've been on both sides. And actually, whenever I started here at ZenMaid, we had an agency that we were partnering with. So I've definitely seen all sides of the coin. I would say that, again, going back to wells, you need to dig those wells first. And if you have something that's working, even if it's just calling or emailing people, go there first. And whenever you hit a dead end, figure out what your next step is. And sometimes it's talking to a consultant or like doing some research or just getting advice from somebody else in the industry. Again, the mastermind is great for that. When you finally decide what type of service you need, that's the key. You don't want to just contact an agency and not know what, because they'll sell you on anything. They want to make money. They're a business.
Well, I've heard like some of when I've done consulting calls or just you guys emailing me, and you're like, I'm spending $1,000 a month, and I'm like, okay, what are they doing for you? And you don't know.
Most people don't know, and it's so sad. And it pains me. That's another reason why the marketing agency, unfortunately, has a bad reputation because of that.
They definitely give me the ick, and that's unfounded for a lot of them. There's plenty of good agencies, I'm sure, but I'm just like, I would never hire an agency.
A lot of it's fear-based. It's a service-based industry, and it's very cutthroat. But the way that I like to think about it is like an employee. Like if you're a business owner and you're a good business owner, you're going to hold your employees accountable.
Yes.
And when there are things that need correction, you're going to have a conversation with them, or it's all about holding them accountable, because every dollar counts as a business owner. Same with marketing agencies or freelancers. You have to hold them accountable. I feel like so many people, especially small business owners that are busy and have other things going on, they sort of over-index on just trusting them. They're busy and they're hiring an agency because they don't have the manpower.
It's easy for that reoccurring bill just to happen, and like you don't ever look at it again because you're busy. And also I think a lot of times it's like, well, I don't know. They're the expert, so I'm going to defer to them.
Right.
And that's a dangerous place.
It's blind trust. It's blind trust. And I don't know, maybe it's sort of like someone cleaning your house. Sometimes you're trusting that they're the expert. You probably still need to go make sure they did a good job and hold them accountable. And so I knew somebody that was paying an agency like $1,000 per month for Google business profile. Optimization.
Oh my gosh. Which is like, what does that even mean?
What does that even mean? There's not enough that you could do on Google business profile unless you're like a, multi-franchise, whatever, like multi-location.
But even then, it's just so simple. Same with setting up Google My Business. Like, guys, do not pay somebody to set up your Google My Business. It is.
You can set it up for free. Don't pay somebody. Again, if you're like a multi-location business and you need help like optimizing it. But it's still not an ongoing service. It does not make sense. And unfortunately, that's just part of the industry. People don't understand it as much. They don't understand digital marketing or marketing. And so they just blindly trust people. So again, accountability. If something feels off, it probably is. And it starts also on the vetting process. If you're just not asking questions and you're just trusting people, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And I think a lot of people in the industry, they set bad expectations. Like, hey, I'm going to get you 100 phone calls a month. Like, it's so vague and just lacks transparency. So ask questions, be informed, hold them accountable. And if it doesn't feel right, make sure that you're doing your diligence.
Got it. That's really good advice. And I hope you guys take heed that, there are good agencies out there. I guess my personal thought on it, and I could be wrong, or there's lots of ways to skin this cat, is like, expend all free avenues first that you can with your resources before going to paid, but it also could just depends on your goals and who you are too. So that might not be like a black and white thing. What do you think?
So I'm a paid media guy. I love it, but I think paid media is often a multiplier. It's like putting fuel on the fire. I often, and I would have thought about this differently earlier in my career, but the more like, as I've matured as like a marketing leader, there are so many free things that you can do to market your business. And they're not like free because you're probably doing it yourself for your time or you're paying somebody.
But I know what you mean. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like SEO or just like getting reviews, testimonials, word of mouth, getting referrals. Like try to expend those things first, and then paid media is a great way to like expedite the thing. I think ZenMaid's probably a great example. We didn't do paid media for the longest time. We still don't have a huge paid media budget because like there's just so many things like the podcast, video content,
mastermind,
email marketing, mastermind, social media. Like those things are better at building trust with your audience. Paid media allows us to, ignite the fire. And
even like, doing like, so for me, like getting a video review, like completely free, right? but then using that in a boosted Facebook post or Google Ads, whatever, because it's like, I know that is the most needle moving thing I can have, because it's, it's so inherently, it convinces people more than anything is a video testimonial of our cleaning services. And then I get the most bang out of my buck for paying for that to be boosted. So a lot of times it's the content too. It's not just like, oh, spend $500 on paid ads, but it's like, well, what are those ads? You know?
It's like a multiplier. Yeah. It's a force multiplier. If something's working, then you want more people to see it. It's a great way to.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm curious. I don't know why this made me think of a would you rather. It's not funny at all. But like, would you rather have like a huge marketing budget and 1 month to hit your goal, or a quarter of that budget and 6 months to hit the goal?
I would rather, this is twofold for me.
Okay.
I love marketing for the underdog. It's so much more fun. Like when you have unlimited resources, like you still have to be a marketer and be creative and all those things. I have always in my career been in those positions where I'm working with like pennies.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so much more fun for me.
Forces creativity. Yeah, you probably have like such fun, like, it's way more fun.
You have to stretch your boundaries. You have to like learn quicker. You have to iterate faster. Every dollar counts. It's a great way to reduce waste. If somebody has $1 million marketing budget, there's probably a ton of waste in there as well. And so it's kind of like the underdog story, like when you're watching a football team that like, you don't expect them to win. Exactly. And I think that's the mentality that the marketing team has whenever they know that they're kind of up against the wall. Yeah, that's the first one. And then also I think marketing takes time. I don't think it's not a like short-term thing. Obviously if you're calling people, like I would consider that more sales, but like if you're emailing people, calling people, you're going to get some like quick iterations. If you're doing paid media, you're going to get like clicks on your website or form fills or whatever.
Yeah.
But good marketing to really understand like what's working and what's not takes so much more time than 1 month. And again, that's where agencies, there's a lot of agencies that will promise you that they'll get you a ton of leads in like 30 days. And that's just
that brings on, like, talk to our friends about expectations when it comes to marketing of like how do they have appropriate expectations on results versus time? Because I know, like, again, I've talked to people where they're like, well, I haven't seen the results, and I've been paying them for a month and there's nothing yet. And it's like, well, that's probably unreasonable expectations, but like how do we create reasonable expectations when most of us have never ever been in this world before?
I think the way that you can think about it is if something, again, if it's too good to be true, or if it is true, like everybody would be doing it, and it would be just an oversaturated market. And also knowing that there's so many variables like geography, like your business is in Wisconsin, smaller town.
Yep.
You're going to have to do different things than somebody in Atlanta, Georgia.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so there's just so many variables with marketing. Everything down to like your pricing or like the way that you go about your business, your brand, your colors. So I think expectation starts with like acknowledging that like it's very complex. Second, it's not like you put in $1, get one out, again, because of those variables. And so it's just like, it just takes time to iterate, takes time to learn. You need the feedback loop with marketing. It's not as cut and dry as other services.
Yeah. That just makes me think one of the biggest challenges I'm sure we'll all face too is like understanding like, is the marketing working when, like, and this is what I mean. So somebody will come to us, they'll request a quote, and I'll ask where they first heard about us, right? And they may say, like, it's so hard to know, like, is the money I'm spending actually, like, what's my ROI, right? Like, what is the cost of, like, lead procurement? And I still have really no idea how to figure that out. Like, how do I figure this out?
Yeah, I think, so we would call that like attribution in marketing. I think it's so overrated.
Yeah.
If you're like a Fortune 500 company, you need, and you're probably going to have good systems that like track that and everything, but it's so overrated.
Okay.
If you think about think about your own purchasing behaviors. Like, let's just say, let's just say you're looking for some new goggles. Like, where you
potentially. These ones are pretty good, but
yeah. So, let's not use goggles. Let's use like a new car.
Okay. Yep.
So if you're shopping for a new car, you're not gonna click on one ad and then enter all your information and then like that same day like check out and buy the car. Like maybe you will, but there might be some scenarios where you're like doing research on like what are the best, bucket seat SUVs. Like you're gonna do some extensive research. You may use Google. You may use ChatGPT. You may ask your friends via text like, what car do you have? Like, do you like it? You may watch some YouTube videos. You may click on some ads. The buyer journey is very complex. it is physically impossible to track every interaction that happens. And I would refer to that as like the dark funnel. Dark social is another way that people think about it. Like, think about our ZenMaid mastermind. Prime example, we were talking about open phone earlier, but people are asking like, do you prefer Ring Central versus open phone? That is in a mastermind. There is not a UTM link attached to that. That is somebody that posted it on like one of those like default Facebook graphics. There is no way for open phone to track that. Unless somebody has like a referral link or whatever. So it just kind of dies there. Is open, so what is that person going to do? They're going to go do a Google search. Who's going to get the credit for that? The Google search. The
Google search,
The Facebook community, the ZenMaid mastermind is not going to get credit for that. So that's where I think attribution is very overrated. The second part of that, I would say, is that people over-index on that, where they think they have to understand where every dollar is going. And sometimes they get tunnel vision. And because of that attribution myth that I just talked about, they may see that like Google has the lowest, what we would call cost per acquisition or customer acquisition cost, CAC, whatever you want to call it. And they may put more money towards Google. Well, what about the social media communities that are like really driving that?
Blindsided,
And then so I think that I've seen that really silo people. Also, again, this is a very complex topic.
No, this is great. This is great. Yeah, because we think that the reason that this is excellent. Keep going.
If your business is growing and making money, and you're spending less in marketing expenses, if your business growth is outpacing that exponentially, why would you care as much? Like I like you should care, but like people, they get fixated on it.
That's what I think. It's like I feel like this is important to know where my leads are coming from, but it's absolutely self-reporting.
It's good whenever
self-reporting.
If you had additional budget and you wanted to know which tactic to double down on, then you would look at attribution. Or if like, let's say Amar came to me and said, "Hey Ryan, like what channels are working the best?" I would want to tell him. And so like you do need to be responsible and track that. I think for you and like some other cleaning business owners is just start simple. Start with a spreadsheet. Do some estimates. Like how much did you put into Facebook ads? What was the cost? Put it in a cell. How many leads did you get that maybe ZenMaid or your CRM or whatever came from that? Simple math. That's your cost per acquisition or customer acquisition cost. And then other channels you're going to have to estimate, like referrals, word of mouth or whatever. Like maybe it's the salaries that you pay people to do those things. Maybe it's administrative. Just do simple, basic math. And like, even if it's off, you'll have a good understanding of like where it's coming from. And so I would say don't overcomplicate it, take it seriously, but also don't put all of your eggs in the attribution basket.
That's really reassuring to hear that like I don't have to like care so much or really like deep dive or go down this hole of fixation on this of like, okay, the business is growing, we're getting tons of leads. I've been experimenting a lot more with paid ads for the first time in 6 years, where I'm just like, let's see what happens. And it's been actually really fun and with very low budget, just taking customer testimonials, making Facebook ads out of it and using ChatGPT in plentiful amounts of like, you're Alex Hormozy, what would you do?
He would say run 1,000 ads at once.
Exactly. I don't need that many leads. I need cleaners.
I get that request from Amar every day. More ads. I'm just kidding.
That's funny. Let me get back to it. Would you rather, shall I? Would you rather spend 10 hours crafting the perfect ad that flops or throw together a trashy Canva ad that pulls 40 leads overnight?
Trashy Canva ad all day. Trashy Canva ad. Like, again, it goes back to like, I don't really care where they came from. And as long as they're quality, if they're qualified leads, I don't really care where they came from. Again, it goes back to like progress over perfection. I think so many people try to craft the perfect marketing ad. Sure, that works if you're like Google or Apple or whatever, and you want to like end up on like a viral ad. But like your ICP and your market is only so big in like a geographic area. Like, it's only going to impact your business so much. So I say trashy Canva ad. Don't overcomplicate it. But don't just try to create trashy Canva ads. Like try to create good ones, but like. For the sake of this.
That's my, I struggle with that of like, if it's broke, don't fix it, but I know it could be better. Like for example, I want to redo our website and kind of elevate our branding and things like that. And then it's like, well, it is working, but it's like, but it could probably work way better. And I don't know how much to invest into that when I'm hypothesizing that. It's kind of tough to make those decisions sometimes.
I think just shipping things faster and then iterating.
What does that word mean? We're not talking to you work for a software company. What does shipping mean?
What does shipping mean? Yeah, so just like putting yourself out there. When you started your business, you had a beautiful website because you put so much time and effort into it, but at some point you were just like, I have to get this live.
Yes.
Imagine if you would have waited 6 more months to start your business.
Oh yeah.
It's easy to like wait in marketing and want everything to be perfect, but it's never going to be perfect. And so that's when I go back to like the trashy ad. At some point you have to ship it, and then you're going to get some feedback. Whether nobody likes it, nobody clicks on it.
Yep.
But then you'll learn from that, and then you can ship another one.
Yeah, and that's such a good point. And I know I say on this podcast all the time the importance of having a website. And some of you've gotten so far without a website that you may question if that's true or not. I think it's more ease of the future for you, because however you're getting leads now takes more effort than if you had, like, at least this is my opinion. I think that without a website, you're having to do a lot of manual labor, and you're probably getting a lot of your business from Facebook groups or referrals, and those are wonderful. But having a Google My Business and a website is going to take you further if that's what your goal is. Like, if you want to grow or scale your business and really you need to have a website. You need to have a website, and so there's a lot of simple things that we can do to make that better. And I've made, recent podcast episodes on that topic of how we make the website better. But I do think in our industry, a website is pretty critical. I mean, do you have opinions on that at all?
Yeah. So again, sometimes we overcomplicate marketing, I feel like, and it's not to dumb it down. And we have to be diligent, but sometimes think about your own buying behaviors. Again, you might not be your ICP, ideal customer profile.
Yeah.
You might not be the person that you would sell to, but whenever you look up a business or you want to call a plumber or a roofer, you're probably going to want to try to find reviews and more information on them. If they don't have a website, I guarantee you're eh.
Yep, exactly. Or if they don't have any reviews.
Are they a legitimate business?
Yep.
Do they even exist? Is this a scam?
Yep.
Our minds go there in 2025. And so I think, you can start a website for pennies compared to what it used to be. And so my advice is just have one. Have one and not need it, rather than need one and not have it.
Well, yeah, and especially considering at least in Serene Clean, for us, it's very important that our leads all funnel to one place to manage them, right? From a CRM perspective. So for us, using the booking form of we want every single lead to fill out our ZenMaid booking form, because it makes it easier for us. Because if they're messaging us on Facebook, if they're calling, if they're texting, if they're walking in, all of these different ways that we could be communicating with leads and giving them pricing, it's just so much easier if we just put them through the website. So even if they come to us on Facebook, we're still pushing them to fill out the booking form, just from a management perspective.
Yeah, I always think about things that are scalable. You there are things that you want to do that aren't scalable, like sending flowers or sending gifts. Those things are perfect, but you don't want to do things that are not scalable, like messaging 10 people on Facebook Messenger. That is just, no one wants to do that. That is time that you could be spending on your business, with your clients, on retention, those types of things. So when it comes to those types of things, I definitely like automation, processes. I'm a big process guy. So I definitely default to that as well.
Yeah, I agree, of automating what you can, and then having the personal touch where it counts. Personal touch on messaging pricing on Facebook, that does not count. It's not going to move the needle. It's actually probably moving you backwards, where writing a heartfelt note on their anniversary or whatever, or sending them flowers when they have a baby, those are the things that make a huge impact on your customers, for sure.
I always think of I do this scenario in my head where I'm if we had 10 times the amount of this, what would it be like? And so if you had, let's just say you had 5 conversations going on in Facebook Messenger, and then imagine your business 10x, and you had 50, that sucks.
What would it be like?
But imagine you had 5 people going to your website, you had a system and a process, and you could do it, they could do that while you sleep. Imagine if 50 people came to your website and did that.
No more work for you, other than
exactly. So it's often it's good to think about things that are scalable.
That's a really good take. That's really good advice right there.
Prime example, we kind of did this with the podcast, but we were thinking about, how do we make this successful with a small team? Because ZenMaid
we have a super small team in the marketing department, for sure.
Yeah, very small team. And
it's
again,
actually just us.
It's just us. These are our resources,
These are our resources. That's what we could afford.
Tomorrow I'm going to need some nicer floaties for the next one. What was I saying?
I don't know. Something about having a small team. And
yes. Okay, so for the podcast, when we thought about this, we were we're going to try to put out 2 episodes per week. How do we make sure that is feasible? And so we built a system. We use ClickUp, just like I know you do in your business, and we made sure that if we wanted to 5x that number, we wouldn't do that to you. I know you could do it. Creative. I know you could have those conversations, but if we did, would the system break? And it would not break. And so that's really important to us.
And that's really great to put out of the only thing that would break is me. And that's a good thing because it means that everything else is working properly. We could handle that influx or that quantity of content. Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah, and so that's a good point too. Like we don't want to break. So that's kind of like where we kind of draw the line. But I often think in terms of like, if our business 10x overnight, would we be okay? Or would we be freaking out, panicking, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Well, and I think that's where it's just like a lot of times, you know, people are like, I want to grow. It's like everything would break if you grew with the current systems that you have. And that's a hard pill for us all to swallow. But luckily, it's very unlikely to happen of like, you know, Serene Clean grew very, very quickly compared to a lot of cleaning businesses. But it also, like, the mistakes that were made along the way, like, I think why it grew so successfully is that I'm very quick at learning and applying and tweaking of like, oh, that didn't work, tweak. And so like as it was breaking and we were growing, like
sorry, I should help myself. No, these goggles are like pulling my forehead back. And then I got something in my eye, and you know, it's like my mom would be so proud right now.
Yeah.
My mother would be so proud.
Maybe you should send this to her.
Yeah, my mom hasn't watched the podcast yet.
Oh, this would be a perfect episode. Hi, Ryan's mom.
Hey.
He's a good guy.
Hey, Mom.
Yeah, he's good at his job.
We were talking about here in Barcelona about like Southern culture and like accents and stuff.
Yeah.
And my mom was one of those people that says like, bless your heart.
Oh, yeah, Ryan's from
she said,
Arkansas. If we have any Arkansas folks watching, yeah.
You know, we have some people from Missouri. We do have people in Arkansas, Dallas.
Yeah.
Very close. I totally forgot what we were talking about.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Would you rather deal with one nightmare client review that ranks number 1 on Google or spend $1,000 a month on ads just to compete with your own name?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what that means. What does it mean, ChatGPT?
I would rather, wait, say the first one again?
Deal with one nightmare client review that ranks number 1 on Google.
I would rather deal with that. I'm a big like reputation guy. And so if you're putting in a lot of hard work, it just takes one person to just kind of like stifle that growth. And so I would rather make it right with them. I'm just a big fan of like addressing, you know, the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
And I think that would be one of those conversations.
Yep.
And it would just be so satisfying when you got that either removed or just addressed. But I know that people that are just working very hard, like reputation is everything.
Yeah.
And,
you know, and it's interesting. So I was walking with Maria through the streets of Barcelona the other day, and we were talking about she had a really bad review early on in her cleaning business. And like a year later, she sent an email to that person and said, like, you know, we made a lot of changes. We learned so much. These are all the things. And I think she sent her flowers or something and just said, you know, thank you so much for being honest in your feedback. And the lady turned into an absolute raving fan and was like, yeah, I was having this really hard time when the cleaning went south. And like turning that into such, like, you can absolutely turn a negative experience into an absolute raving fan. Like, I think that's a superpower. Like, take that opportunity to learn and not just get like indignant and too proud, you know?
I think some people just want someone to blame. Sometimes I don't even think it's about the service.
They need to be heard. They want to be heard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they're just maybe projecting.
Yep.
Maybe they're having a bad day and like you just caught them at a bad time. Like, of course, maybe sometimes it was like a bad service, but like sometimes there's an underlying reason why they had to like take it public or go.
Yeah. And I find out, like, for me, this is my theory and how I like explain it to my team, is that every single complaint is from expectations not being met. And so our job is to make sure we explicitly manage expectations preemptively. So that means they must review and acknowledge the client guidelines and our cleaning checklist to understand scope of work. Because I've given the example before of, you know, a husband hired us for cleaning and to surprise his wife. And we did it exactly as we always did. We nailed it to our cleaning specs, right? She got home and she immediately lost it because her husband said, I surprised you with the deep clean. For her, a deep clean was like everything's taken out of the cabinets. Practically the gutters are cleaned out. So it's like what the expectations were mismatched. And we learned so much from that experience. And once we explained to her and was like, no, this is our cleaning checklist. And we followed it to a T. And then she was like, oh, well, you did perfectly according to those expectations.
Right. This is such a deeper topic, but what I just heard there, it would be the same if that's probably one that I would be curious to get your take on, because if somebody like I imagine if my wife hired someone to like mow our lawn, would I be like, am I not doing a good enough job? And so I wonder if that's ever happened, or like if you know anything about that, like in the industry, like if somebody like gifts somebody a cleaning, like do some people take that the wrong way?
Oh yeah, definitely that can happen. Oftentimes though, it's much more people will hide from their spouse that they have a cleaner. I've heard of folks who have said to their company, like, don't do too good of a job because I don't want my husband to know that I am using a cleaning service. So it's really interesting, the psychology of what our service is. It goes very deep, very deep, because there's so much energy around domestic labor in the home, and the dynamics between partners and different, gender dynamics. There's so much related to that. And I think that it could absolutely be taken, as you said, of like an insult. And that's like, with my boyfriend, like, we're very, very busy. And like, I've, suggested having a lawn, and he's like, no, like I mow the lawn. I'm like, but you're so busy. Why don't we just do that? And like him taking it that way, even though it's not my intention. And I know exactly what you mean of like, I like, you don't clean good enough. I need to hire somebody to do it.
It almost needs to be their decision. And it's the same with my wife. My wife is incredible, but she just doesn't want a cleaner. And maybe like someone will come along and change her mind, but like she takes pride in
some people just, it's
never
going to happen for them.
I definitely outsource our lawn care. Because like, we're busy, but it was my decision. And I made a point to tell her that when our boys are older, like I like mowing the grass. I like doing weed eating and stuff, but like this stage of life, but it was my decision. It wasn't like, she didn't come to me and say, hey, Ryan, the glass. She did a couple times, and then I was like, okay, let's just take care of it. But
just in general, I find that it is a very complex thing to navigate coming into a marriage or a partnership as the cleaner. There is just so much unknown dynamics us as the cleaners of the cleaning company are walking into blind. And it takes a lot of knack, and I'm sure, you guys listening have had experiences like that where it's like, it's very odd sometimes, and we are doing something in people's homes, and we are seeing their private life and not the facade that they put on out to the external world. And I don't mean facade in a bad way. We put out a public persona, right? Every one of us does. And so letting somebody into your kingdom and into your sanctuary, if you will, and them seeing the real you, or seeing how the family actually is, it's very vulnerable, very, very vulnerable. And so navigating that is challenging. And that's where I find my marketing, language is oftentimes related to how women are feeling, because they're the ones who the domestic labor typically falls on, which is messed up. And, there's a lot of room to change that dynamic. But that's why my messaging has to do with like, okay, you are oftentimes feeling shame or feeling judged on your home. And that's because our value as women is placed on that. And so you think it's all on your shoulders. But you also very often, like the expectations on the women is now is like, you need to have a full-time job, you need to be a full-time mother, and need to full-time manage the household. And like something's got to give. And why don't you outsource the cleaning to us, right? And we're going to honor you and honor your home in a way that you can now be there for everything else you want to be. So like that's kind of how I've attacked the whole dynamics of it, is like kind of head on, of like really like, I know how you're feeling, and it makes them feel seen and heard for sure. Yeah,
and that's, oh gosh, that's such a good message. And again, it goes back to what we were talking about at the very beginning, intentionality. So many people check a box with marketing, especially like their website, their logo, their messaging, but like that's your opportunity to really set the tone. Not just for like stand out, not just for how you go to market and portray yourself, but also like the culture and the tone you set internally. If you were to share that, and I imagine you do with your team, it's a totally different way that they take pride in their work and the service they give.
I mean, it's like that is my philosophy. It's been that way since day one of like, why did I open Serene Clean? And one of our core values is family first. And so that messaging truly infiltrates the entirety of the business. And being that, my cleaners are also my ICP, most likely, right? Like they are parents, they're moms, right? Most of my staff are women. And so it just so holistically connects the internal to the external, and they all believe the mission because it's coming from the horse's mouth, and I'm using this type of messaging for sure.
I love that you're using ICP, by the way.
Oh, geez, that's such a ZenMaid thing. I didn't use that.
It's a very software type thing.
My ideal client profile, or your client avatar, or your ideal customer. That's persona. What we're talking about. Your persona. There's all different types of
who's like who you want to sell to, or like who you want to be your client. In a perfect world.
Well, and I just love that we're, bringing it back to the branding of it all. And, that was one of my, I think my third ZenMaid talk for the Maid Summit was standing out in a sea of options. And like, we have an opportunity to stand out. And I'm not just talking about the competition, but just like as a business of like every single one of you guys, I know I say this all the time, but it's like you have a perspective and you have a story that's unique to you. Why the heck are you not using it? That, like, every time I hop on a call with any of you guys and I'm like, well, you know, why'd you open your business? Tell me why this is important to you. Yeah. And you give me this like heart-wrenching, tear-jerking story of like you overcoming everything to do this and why it's so important to you. And I'm just like, why isn't that on your website?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Like even me, I can think of like if I were to ever start something, like I had a single mom for a big part of my childhood in many facets, like literally and metaphorically. Yeah. And so like it just makes me emotional thinking about it, but also like those are the stories that we relate to the most, and people want to buy from people unless you're like, again, Apple, Google, whatever it might be.
We're local small businesses.
People would rather work with somebody that has a slightly lesser service. Not saying that's the case with anybody. Yeah. They would rather work with someone they trust and know and that they can relate to versus somebody that's just gonna like, they're just gonna be another number. Yep. And so your story is a perfect way to relate to people. It's the same way when you sit down and have a deep conversation with somebody, it's a different relationship. Yep. It's not surface level. And so if you don't know what to put on your website or your messaging or your logo, like start with your story. Yeah. That is a great place to start. And Zyla, the person that you interviewed, I guess a couple months ago, I mean, her story resonated with me. That was one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah. I know it was a lot of people's favorite episodes because not only just like her inner strength, but like, her background and where she came from. And I didn't even know like everything until we sat down for that podcast recording of like how like she had to like get away from a very rough life from such a young age and to then use that to fuel her motivation and like to make a better life for her family. Like, it was just so inspirational. And hearing that, because when you hear what the struggles people have gone through, and then you're seeing what they're doing to work, like, and it may not be perfect. Maybe it's not the prettiest website or anything, but if you're speaking from the heart, like people are going to take heed, you know?
Yeah. And you can tell when somebody tries with their marketing or branding or whatever, or when someone just throws it together with no thought. Yeah. It's like how bad do you want this, or how serious are you taking this? And you can tell. Yeah. You can tell.
And that's what I mean of like, it's interesting because it just reminds me like not to get meta right now, but like this podcast of like, why do people seem to like this? It's because like I'm being very authentic. Like this is who I am. I'm silly.
We're not checking a box.
We're not checking a box. Like this is very important to me. Like it's really, really important to me that this is like helping people. And so it's just like, you guys and your cleaning business is like, I hope it's very, very important to you what you're doing. And that can come across because it's authentic and people can sense it. People can sniff out inauthenticity a mile away. It's so easy. You know, we all have that instinct, I feel, you know?
Yeah, I would agree fully. Yeah. Do you have any other off the wall questions?
Ooh, let me see.
Trashy Canva ads?
Yeah. Let me look. I honestly didn't read these.
I kind of think I may intentionally send a typo in one of our emails.
To see if the listeners, a little Easter egg. Okay, let me scroll here. We can pause and edit so I can find. Ooh, would you rather accidentally launch a campaign with your competitor's name in the header or realize you've been using the wrong phone number on your website for 6 months?
I think of marketing opportunities and good stories, and I think the competitor one, it would pain me so bad to like have been running the wrong phone number. And that's not funny, you know?
That's not funny.
That's not funny at all. I would rather launch with our competitor's name. Yeah. And I think it would just, and like, you know what's cool about competition, especially when you're like staying in your lane and doing your own part, like there's more than enough business for everybody. And like, what an opportunity to relate to your competitors. A lot of the times I think of MailChimp. They did this campaign, and you guys should all Google it. But they did this campaign where they intentionally let out some like different variations of the MailChimp name. So like nail shrimp and like mail crimp and snail pimp, like just random stuff. And like,
snail pimp, that's a good one.
That's like, don't take yourself too seriously. And I'm not saying you should go put your competitor's logo on your website or email or whatever, but imagine what you could do, like what fun you could do with that.
Yeah. What do you think? So like, obviously we're on the topic of like being funny and lighthearted, and like, that's very important to me that like I make everything fun. That's just like who I am. Like, how can we make this fun? But I'm trying to think like in Serene Clean, like how have I implemented that? Like how do you, and obviously for you and ZenMaid, it's a different kind of market, and you guys, I feel like can be more playful when marketing to, you're like, it feels almost weird to be playful to like my cleaning business clients. Like I kind of struggle with that a little bit more. What role do you think like fun has in this? Like,
yeah, I think it goes back to just being human. I think, I mean, especially with like in the age of AI, like we kind of need to hold on to our humanity. Humor is one of those ways that we can connect with people, just like connecting with people via story and like your background and the story that makes you who you are. Humor is another way that we can, it's like a universal language. Like when somebody laughs or smiles or like, just
it
like
cuts
music.
across all languages, you're
cuts
right.
across all languages. And so, I mean, I think you have to be appropriate, right? You can't just like do raunchy jokes or whatever, but just like have fun with it. It's the things that we remember, you know, like I would say like this retreat with ZenMaid, like this is the thing we're going to remember 50 years from now. It's fun. It's not too serious. We've done a ton of work and shipping new features and products. And I'm going to stop saying shipping at some point.
Yeah, stop saying shipping.
Launching new features, building them. But like this, you have to have fun with it. Like, what's the point of life? What's the meaning of life if we're not having fun and living in community? And I know that you have to draw that line and tiptoe with that with clients. And I think it's just about being relatable and being human.
Yeah, and that really for me relates back to workplace culture as well, because, you know, we have a really casual workplace culture at Serene Clean, and by casual I mean it's silly, it's fun, it's a little unhinged, and like definitely like you walk in, it's like, oh, these people are all friends. And the only way that we can, what I would call, afford to do that is because we have a culture of excellence. And so like the service and what you are providing needs to be of such value, and that allows you to have fun and be silly and be a little bit more lighthearted. Because if we are like sucking at everything and we are providing a terrible service and we're getting complaints all the time, it's not a time or place to have fun and be silly, because it's like we've got a problem on our hands. And I'm not saying, again, remove it, like just being harsh and just getting down on people, but it's like I always come back to the bedrock of all of our businesses needs to be excellence in everything that we do. And obviously we're going to mess up and all of that, but it's like it's easier to be relaxed when you're doing good work, you know? And also when you're doing good work and we're all taking pride in that, it's an entirely different environment, because it's not about getting paid. Like you're just getting paid to do your job. It's like I want all of my staff to feel that pride in themselves for doing a good job. And that really, it creates a different type of energy for sure. Yeah,
it's authentic. And so like people can really just read through the bluff if you're like trying to like have fun, but like your culture sucks and like it's just tense all the time. It's like those companies like throw pizza parties to reward
like the health industry,
the healthcare industry, very corporate.
Like this will make their lives better.
So I think this may not be a good analogy, but I think of like if you've got goals like fitness goals and you're going to the gym and stuff, but imagine how much more you enjoy that like Saturday cheat meal, or like just that relaxing, like when you there's nothing like sitting down because you earned it. Same thing with like when you work hard and you play hard, it's because you earned it. It's so much more enjoyable. And it's like if you just have like a truly productive day and you just gave it all and you just lay down at the end of the day and you just have that joy, immense joy, like it's authentic, it's not forced. And it's the same with like the culture in the workplace.
It feels good to work hard, be appreciated, and make a difference, and that really should be what we all aspire to, I think, in our businesses and as leaders as well.
Fully agree.
Well, cool. I think we'll wrap it up. It sounds like dinner's about ready. Maybe we hit the pool, you know?
Cool,
let's go.